So you want to become a digital nomad, have full freedom of being able to live life on your own terms and travel the most beautiful destinations on this planet. But so far, this whole digital nomad thing has just been something you've seen from people on your Instagram feed, YouTube videos, or you've been hearing it from someone who knows someone. And it seems like everybody shows you how amazing and great this whole digital nomad lifestyle can be, how white the sand on the beach is, and how blue the sea is, but nobody actually shows you the exact steps that you need to take to make it happen. And we can already assure you at this point that it's not the selfie with a coconut on a palm tree that makes up for a successful digital nomad. So since you're watching this video, this is going to change the game for you today. And it will show you every single step that you need to go through to transition your life from the classic well-paid and secure 9-to-5 job into the digital nomad lifestyle. You're going to discover the pitfalls that you don't want to step into if you don't want your life to feel like hell, and how you're able to end up with a gazillion amount of more wealth through the digital nomad lifestyle than if you just keep your high-paid 9-to-5 job. And that's exactly why you need to watch this video all the way till the end. But before we get into the fancy and nice things that you can do as a digital nomad, you have to first understand the 4 key phases before you get to call yourself a digital nomad. So we want to make this really easy for you. That's why we came up with a timeline of what to do 1 year before, 6 months before, 3 months before, 1 month before, and even after you've become a digital nomad, so that you know exactly what to do at each phase. And Manu's gonna get into the first stage right now, which is 1 year before.
Absolutely. 1 year before you want to become a digital nomad, or before you hop on that plane essentially and leave everything else behind you, it's very important to get the fundamentals right. And maybe you have been in a situation where you felt like you were not properly prepared to start or do something new, and you felt nervous and a lot of things were going around in your head, and this is something we want to avoid as much as possible. And that's why it's important to really get the fundamentals right. For example, one big topic for everyone is usually the finances. And at this point, if you have a 1 year timeline to become a digital nomad, you really want to start saving up some of the finances. So we recommend you to save up at least $10,000. More is of course always better, but that will allow you to really get started properly. You can get some consulting, you can get some proper help. You're not wasting years like trying to figure it out yourself, and you can really get started within that 1 year period. And it will also help you to calm your mind so that you not need to run for the next dollar and make these short-term decisions of like, oh, how can I make like this thing work? Like it will be all much more calm and much more peaceful for you to start into the whole thing and thrive with it. And of course, then it's always good to have a plan B, to have enough funds to return in case everything goes south. You very likely have seen the consequences a pandemic or an economy crisis has, and in that case you maybe want to go back home and start all over again, or at least have the opportunity and the options open to be able to do that, and not being stuck in some like third world country where you cannot get back to like your usual standard.
And then there's this other thing that you need to do, having an income that's remote. And we don't recommend doing normal remote jobs like working with the same employer that you do right now, because it's like one snap away from bankruptcy. Because if they lay you off, for example, you are in Bali or so, and then you don't have a source of income, and yeah, who wants that? So what we recommend is typically in the first year before you go, you start making money online, having a side hustle, maybe start with something like nomadic clothing that you can do from anywhere in the world. And once you do make the switch to become a full-time digital nomad, you already have something in place. And of course, you don't have to try and learn everything by yourself. It would take years to learn everything in the business world. It's really risky to try something on your own. If you have guidance from someone who's already done what you want to do, obviously can shortcut the learning curve. And this is really the key thing here. You don't live forever. Why should you waste years of your time just to learn something that you can do in a year or so? And then we have something that is called the freedom number. We really calculate what needs this business to make you in order so that you can set yourself free. And if you become good at this business, you not only have the potential of full-time traveling, but you have also a great income, and you build even more wealth through this digital nomad thing than by staying in your home country. Yeah, and maybe you have even some passive income going at this point.
That is a good point, Sam, and this brings us one step closer to becoming a digital nomad. Now, when we look at 6 months before you make the switch, before you make the transition over to be a digital nomad and to transition in that lifestyle, there are a lot of things in your life that you probably have accumulated over the years. And when you say passive income, like one of these things you could, for some of you, immediately turn into such an asset is your house, your home, your flat, whatever it is. You're living somewhere, and if you own that place, you could potentially rent out that place to someone and just already have your first passive income asset going while you're traveling. And of course, there is more like stuff you have around, probably like a car, you have probably furniture, like a lot of things. Again, you accumulated those things over years. And now is a really, really good time to get rid of some of these things, let go, sell them for some good money, and just clean up your life. Like these are usually the things that keep you stuck. You want freedom. You want to be able to, live life on your own terms. And that's part of the journey, letting go of things that tie you down to one place. And maybe you're thinking like, what do you mean like letting go of my stuff? You know what? Like it's funny. Once you clean up and declutter for once and really like generously give those things away and sell it, it accumulates again so quickly. Like you will start maybe with like a luggage, and then suddenly you find something there on your trip and so on, and then you got the stuff back, and it goes so quickly. It's funny all the time. So yeah, this is like a step you want to do and start 6 months prior. It's not something you should do last minute.
And once you have everything in place, you started selling some things, you really need to have a solid goal in mind, right? So what do you actually want to do? Do you want to be a slow mat who's traveling to one destination, staying there for a year or something? Or do you want to do it for the tax freedom? Or do you want to be someone who's traveling all the time, like every 2 weeks to a different place? There are so many possibilities, but you really need to make sure that you have a proper plan in place. And by that, I mean, you have the legal paperwork, like the visa or something. You have the taxes checked in that country, because most of the countries trigger taxes if you stay there for more than half a year. Which visa do you want to use? Do you want to be on a tourist visa, nomad visa, or residency visa? There are so many different things that you need to keep in mind. And it basically comes all down where you want to live and how you want to live there. So educate yourself on the countries, the law, the tax opportunities, the corporate setup. And there are even setups that you can use tax-free that are completely legal and completely white, not gray zone area, not black zone area, that you can use for this. There are lots of advantages that you are able to take here, but you need to make sure that you set things up correctly. And then we move into the next phase, which is the 3 months before you get started as a digital nomad. And the first thing that you need to do here is renew your passport, your driving license, and all the documents that you do have, so that you have some sort of residency proof in your home country. And this comes really in handy for compliance. For example, if you have a bank account or so, and once a year they ask you, are you still living at the place where you say you live? So then you can have this as proof of residence or proof of address, and then you can keep your bank accounts. And this is so important. So many people make this mistake. They don't really prepare their legal stuff, their bank accounts, their credit cards, and then they end up traveling and the bank's shutting them down and closing their accounts. And this can really become pain, a true pain.
And guys, just to put this in proper perspective, we're not saying like this is going to happen. All these things are just like insurances for you to be ready in case it happens. Like this can happen, and as Sam said, like it's a real pain if it does. So make sure you have those stuff ready. Also, aside from the passport and the driving license, you want to make sure you have like the documents of, for example, your income statements or the tax filings of the, let's say maybe like the 3 years is usually a good number. So what people or banks or institutions are looking for. And that can help you, as Sam has already said, like with a lot of things like bank account, but usually also when you go for applying in countries for like a visa or digital nomad visa or something like that, countries might, like the government institutions might ask for this. If you want to pick up a loan, if you want a mortgage on a house you want to buy on an exotic island, whatever it is, like you're going to be asked for these kind of things for proof of what you have in wealth and finances and what you have done and where you're coming from. And there's also a big thing going on with money laundering and stuff like that. So they want to be sure that what you bring as money in the country or into a company or whatever it is, that is taxed properly, that you are the real owner of that. And just make sure you have those things. Is gonna make your life a hell lot easier.
Also, other documents that you may want to need are birth certificate, right? Marriage certificate if you're married, or your vaccination passes that you do have in case you need to refresh something or so. So get all of these documents in place, and there might be even more that you need, and prepare yourself really for the worst case scenario. Think of this scenario really quick. Your house burns down, you got nothing right now. What documents do you need in order to open all of these accounts that you do have and provide basic legal documentation for everything? And what you also need is having at least 2 bank accounts in your home country in case one of the accounts got shut down, for example, or you need to open a new account when you're already on the road, for example. Then you can use one as the proof of address, for example, and open another one. So it's always good to have at least 2, because one is actually none and two is one. You know what I mean?
And speaking of bank account and finances, there comes the next thing, which are credit cards. If you already have one or multiples, great. As long as you are living in your home country and you have that good reputation, is it a credit score or whatever your country uses to like determine if you are liable for credit, use that and leverage it to the max. Like get credit cards, get bigger limits approved as long as you still can. Because if you go into a new country and you don't have this score built up, nobody's gonna give you like credit cards. And even if you don't need them and you're like, oh, like I'm not one of these persons that swipes the credit card for everything, it's gonna come very, very handy in case, again, if you need it.
Yep. And there's also one thing, if you're a debit card person, like I used to be, and you're just at your hometown and you're just going around, going grocery shopping and things like that, that's totally fine. But if you're traveling internationally, sometimes you want to rent a car. In most places, you can't do anything without a credit card. And most rental companies, they don't accept debit cards or give you a higher fee, or you need to place a bigger deposit on your car. And even in hotels, you can't order room service to your room if you don't have a credit card on file. So there are lots of benefits with it. Obviously, don't get into debt for credit cards. That's a big personal finance no-no. And yeah, and in the past, when I used to travel, I always had this fear of, what if I don't have internet connection when I'm in the country? Do I have to buy a new cell plan each time I go anywhere? Or what if there's no Wi-Fi set up somewhere? So what I recommend to everybody is having some sort of an app that can install an eSIM on your phone. So if you have an older phone, get rid of it, get yourself a new one that has the eSIM capability, where you can just download an app and pay $5 or so. And then you have an eSIM in each country that you're going to with one click of a button, and you can access the internet from anywhere. So there's no connection issues, and you're not left at the airport with no connection. You can't go anywhere, don't know where to go, not even Google Maps is working. So this can be a real pain in the ass. So I highly recommend having some sort of an eSIM.
And then once you start traveling, you're also probably going to switch around like the places you go for dentists, the places you go for health checkups and so on. And one thing that, or like one of the pitfalls that I tapped into is like doing this in a foreign country if you're not 100% sure that your insurance from home covers that. I used to do that. I had to pay eventually everything myself just because of that fact. And if you decide to go full-time nomad, you probably want to look into like an insurance that does worldwide coverage. So usually it's not going to be the default thing that you have from your home country. And on top of that, if somehow possible, you want to check if there is an option to go with like the private service. So because in many countries, the public health system is really horrible. You have to queue up for hours and stuff. And like if there's something serious happening with your health, you just want to skip that stuff. Also with what Sam said before, with the whole credit card game, there is a lot of stuff, and this will probably be a whole other video we can do one day in like what you can get
even
out
courses. We can do entire courses on that.
Yes, absolutely. Because for example, I do never pay for any car insurance at this point because I have the credit card taking care of that. I got travel insurance. I got if my luggage get lost or stolen, if I get sick, they would take charge of like my flight. And like there's a whole that's a whole other topic. But again, that's also why you want to be strategic on the credit card side, with some of them covering already like parts of the insurance side. And then with that being said, like there is a wonderful bridge into the airport lounges when you start traveling. That's also something a lot of credit cards offer and you can get yourself into. But you can also purchase these passes on like a 10-time entry membership thing to get into airport lounges. What is that? If you've never been there, like it's really like the best place you can be before a flight. Also, if you have stopovers, like I had places where I got like a whole room in the transit area of the airport for free. Like that's, if you're traveling a lot, like that definitely is something you want to add to your list and get yourself into before you start traveling.
And then 1 month before you start your digital nomad journey, you want to sign off at your home country. You want to do all the paperwork. You go to the residence office. You say, yep, I want to sign off. I don't have an address right now. And in Germany, for example, they put a sticker on your ID and then you're basically a non-resident and you can travel freely wherever you want to go. The most important thing at this stage is that you cancel all your subscription, your normal insurance, everything that you have like internet, phone, and what have you. Cancel that. Maybe you want to rent a storage room or something for the last things that you do have or that you don't don't want to sell, or if you have parents, grandparents, or someone in your family who has an extra room or a basement where you can put stuff in, put it there.
And then before you jump into that plane and fulfill your hunger for adventure and traveling the world and freedom, you might want to say goodbye to all the people and your network at home. You're gonna very likely, if you do this full time, not gonna see them for quite a while. Like be it your family, be it your friends. Like throw a nice party, go out with people, talk about your plans, and maybe give them some sort of opportunity to follow a lot of people doing like travel blogs, or like I don't know, like what you need, but give them an opportunity to stay in touch, because you're not gonna see them for a while now.
And here's the most important thing where people screw up when they are already a digital nomad. They don't stick to their habits. At home, you usually have some sort of good habits. You go to the gym, you work out, you work in the morning until the day is over, basically. You have good habits in place. But once you are a digital nomad, you have access to all of these distractions. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to go to the beach and chill, or go surfing, swimming, snorkeling, scuba diving, what have you. But it also can distract you from your business, right? So it's important to keep these healthy habits, keep learning, keep working on your business, right? Work on your mindset, work with your mentor, and also don't go out there and just eat every single day at nice restaurants, because in some countries they're really cheap and really tempting, and the quality is very good. So keep all of those things in check. And I've seen people who are going digital nomad 1 year, they spend all their savings because they just gonna do all these fun and fancy activities, but they neglect their habits. So that's a huge thing.
And it's not just the habits that usually gonna change, or maybe like give you some sort of shock in that moment. It's also that you left a lot of people behind, like your friends, your family, the like-minded people, the work colleagues, and so on. This is a whole new world now, and you gotta make, especially when you start and you don't have built the network yet, it's very important that you start and seek like-minded people that you can talk to about your plans, that don't think you are crazy and will try to talk you out of it, that actually support you, and where you can strategize, and you're not just going on fancy trips, but also like giving value into your life, and so you're not feeling lonely, which can happen pretty quickly if you just leave everything behind. So to get yourself started right now, you have to get the online business that allows you to live life in full freedom. And if you want to know what's working right now and what the biggest trends in the space are, we do have a whole video training on that, and you can watch it by clicking here right now.